In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the full squad that Samoa has announced for the Pacific Championships in a few weeks' time. So I'm going to go over the full squad list and talk about a few key players that have been selected. So let's get started on the full squad that's been announced. The Samoa squad includes Jesse Arthars, Daejarn Asi, Gordon Tong, Stephen Crichton, Sualauvi Faalogo, Royce Hunt, Luciana Leilua, Connelly Lemuelu, Spencer Leniu, Heilum Greg Marju, Justin Matamua, Terrell May, Carl Oluapu, Keenan Palacia, Junior Paulo, Izack Tago, Maury Taulagi, Young Tanamaipea, and Brian Toto, and Stefano Otokamanu. The first player that I wanted to highlight was Izack Tago, and the main reason for that was because, unfortunately, we didn't really get to see him at the World Cup last year. And that's because he picked up an injury in the first game against England, and then was, unfortunately, unable to feature for the rest of the tournament. Which is a real shame because he was one of those players, one of those really explosive players from the NRL that I was looking forward to watching. And it was a shame that we didn't get to see him. Now, the positive that came out of that was that Tim Lafai was then brought into the squad. And Lafai was insane. Was easily one of the best players at the World Cup last year. So that was the positive that came out of it. But I was still disappointed to not be able to see Izack Tago play at all, really. I think he got about a half in the first game, maybe 60 minutes. But it is a real shame because he's a talented player. His ability to create opportunities by himself is incredibly underrated in the NRL sphere. And of course, what he offers as a player in that Penrith system is huge as well. And you can see from time to time when he's missed, when he's not been in the squad, you can tell that there's something, isn't quite right. But he is an exceptionally talented player. And as I said, his ability to create opportunities from nothing by himself is a real talent that he's got. And hopefully we see him utilise this during this test series. The next player that I want to talk about is Stephen Crichton. So I will move away from the Penrith line soon. But he is a key player that I wanted to talk about for a couple of reasons. And, one of those reasons is that he is also, like Tago, a great player in creating opportunities from nothing by himself. He is a tall, rangy player as well, so he always offers that aerial threat. He's a very smart player as well, that people don't really give him that kind of credit, that, he's just in a system, but we see individually, he's a smart player. Sometimes he can be a little bit cocky, and, when things are going his way, he'll say some stuff, but a lot of the times he can back it up as well. And we've seen that he can be a clutch player. And most importantly, for Samoa, was in the Rugby League World Cup semi-final against England, scoring, that drop goal to take them to the grand final. So he is a real clutch player. His ability to create from nothing is also underrated. He's really intelligent and is one of those leaders. Even at such a young age, he's one of those leaders that the rest of the team, because this team is still quite young, they can still look at him for that guidance. And he gives off that kind of aura that he is in his late 20s, early 30s, that he's been around for a long time. I think he's seen as one of the best centres in the league, but he's just not. I feel like he deserves more credit. But mainly on the things that I've spoken about. So yes, he gets the credit for being as good as he is, but the kind of leadership that he looks to provide and the moments in clutch situations and his goal kicking as well, on top of it as well. I almost forgot about that. He is a goal kicker and his conversion rate, I believe, is pretty good. So he is one of those key players that if things aren't quite going quite right, you can look at Stephen Crichton and he'll pull something out the bag. So he is going to be huge for them during this championship. So the last player that I wanted to talk about was Daejarn Asi. And the main reason for that is, looking at this squad for Samoa, I'm not too sure who the 6 and 7 is going to be. Because if you think back to the World Cup squad that they had, it was Jarome Luai and Anthony Milford. And then the guy that would kind of fill into those slots off the bench if needed was Chanel Harris-Tavita. But he, of course, retired. He is coming back, but he was available. But he's not here for this one. There's no Jarome Luai either, and there's no Anthony Milford. So for me, the 6 and 7 is a bit of a question mark. But the only one to me that's recognisable as a player in the halves that I know of anyway, and that might be an indication of my lack of knowledge, but is Daejarn Asi. Now, as far as I'm aware, he is a centre that featured a few times in the halves for the Eels. Of course, correct me if I'm wrong on that. I'm happy to be educated. But what I do remember is that when he was thrown into a situation at the Eels, who had really been struggling, they didn't have Mitchell Moses at the time. I think it was him that was out that brought Asi in, and then he came in later on again in place of Dylan Brown when he was out. And every time he's been thrown in, he's put in, at minimum, a decent performance. For someone that's, again, as far as I'm aware, very young and very inexperienced, I'm always happy to see and to root for young players that prove their worth in games that they're thrown into, but then get immediately taken out because the person that they replaced is now available. So I am excited to see him because we know that he's got amazing quality. Maybe he can control games. Maybe he can open up defences. It's going to be difficult against New Zealand and Australia, of course. But I'm going to absolutely root for him because I know that he can be a decent player. But now that he may get the opportunity to show that on an even bigger stage against stronger opponents is going to be exciting for him especially, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it. So that is going to be it for this video. There are a couple of other players that I could have spoken about. Murray Taulagi is one of them. Greg Marju is another. He's had an exceptional season with the Knights. Spencer Leniu's had a decent season with the Panthers. So there's a few others I could have spoken about, but I'm happy with the 3 that I've listed there. But if you have any opinions on the squad that's been announced, do let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know if there's any changes you would have made, anyone that you wouldn't have included, anyone that you would have liked to have seen included that's available. Do let me know. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.